Fox Saturday Baseball Game of the Week, brought to you by Neutrogena T-Gel Shampoo. It works. By the United States Army Reserve, be all you can be. By Red Lobster, come in and see for yourself why life on land is dry at Red Lobster. And by MCI 5-cent Sundays, pay the least on the day you call the most.
Well, Jeff Torborg, I'm John Rooney, and welcome back to New York. Our overhead shots are courtesy of the Goodyear Blimp Stars and Stripes, based in Pompano Beach, Florida. And this year, Goodyear is celebrating its 100th anniversary and 73rd consecutive year for its blimp operation. Thanks, guys, for the fine pictures. Inside Shea Stadium, nice crowd here. Well, they've had some crowds recently. A lot of doubleheader action. Playing one against the Rockies, a couple against the Cardinals. And a rather rare split weekend in the National League, with teams moving in to begin new series on Saturday, like the Diamondbacks against the Mets today. Strike one on Todd Hundley. Batting left-handed, facing Andy Bennis. Carlos Baerga will also be up there as a lefty, and then Ray Ordonez. And Bennis is working with a 4-0 lead. He has to be pumped up, Jeff, after providing a couple of RBIs himself.
He might be pumped up on one hand, but he had to run the bases, so he might be deflated otherwise.
Works ahead of Hundley, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
You know, I look at Todd Hundley. This kid, you know, of course he's a fan favorite here, and he should be. He is tough as nails. He probably shouldn't even be playing right now. He's come back from that right elbow surgery, reconstructed the elbow, having a difficult time throwing, so they have him in left field. I give him a lot of credit. This guy is some gamer.
2-2 on Hundley.
He's made an adjustment. You can see the guard on his elbow. He hurt his elbow and had it surgically repaired over the off-season.
Lays off the off-speed pitch, and that was about 2.5 hours worth of surgery. September 26, 1997.
Well, the tough part is he's in the middle of a pennant race at a time when he'd normally be in spring training trying to get his stroke together. And he's also playing left field, where he's never played before, having a difficult time throwing, and that's a very difficult adjustment going to the outfield. But I'll tell you something, this guy is so tough that when he caught for me, there's Mike Piazza, of course, the other catcher on the ball club, and there's been so much talk about these guys were going to dislike each other. They're both gamers, they're both winners, they're both competitors. Todd Hundley just wants to help the Mets.
He hits the ball hard down the right field line. It's going to go foul. Home run distance, but a foul ball. Hundley was making a bid for his 3rd home run.
John, you watch Todd hit right now. I've never seen him hit like this before. Normally he hits out of an open stance. Now he's got his feet parallel, and they're spread out, and he's hardly striding at all. He's just trying to put the bat on the ball. See the width of his stance? He's wide, and now his feet are parallel. Now he doesn't stride much. He's just trying to make contact. In fact, he didn't stride at all.
No.
You don't find many hitters who don't stride at all.
And how about the distance the ball traveled with that kind of stride?
Well, he's so strong. Now you watch. Normally the front foot would go forward. His doesn't go anywhere. Watch this. He just rocks back and he swings. Look at this. He does not stride into the ball.
He's on with a walk. The 3rd allowed by Andy Bennis. Next week on Fox Saturday Baseball, the Seattle Mariners and the New York Yankees, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Central. The Atlanta Braves and the St. Louis Cardinals, plus the New York Mets and the Los Angeles Dodgers, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. And in New York, you'll be getting a New York doubleheader. The Yankees and the Mets next weekend. Carlos Baerga came through the San Diego Padres organization and then came to the big leagues with the Indians. Playing second base in New York with the Mets and taking ball 1 from Andy Bennis. 2 walks in the 1st inning did not come back to haunt Bennis. Walked Tony Phillips and Alfonso, and then worked around with a force play, a strikeout, and then a comebacker. Baerga is grounded into 18 twin killings, but not this time. That's in left center field. And Hundley trying for 3rd. And was cut off by Bell. Oh, my.
Yeah, it makes you wonder on his cutoff, but I think looking at it from here, I think the throw was a little offline. Normally when an infielder like Jay Bell has been around, he has an idea where the runners are and also the line of the throw. Now, Bernard Gilkey can really throw. I mean, he can really throw. So he fields this ball. Comes up with it. I tell you, this is aggressive base running, but here's the throw. Now, Jay Bell cuts it off on what would look like he could have had the runner at third, but I think if that throw would have gone through, let's take a look at another angle, it would have been offline. See where Matt Williams is sliding up the line?
And if the throw goes through, Baerga is probably standing on second.
Exactly. So that's an experienced shortstop cutting a ball off when he knows it's not going to be right on line.
Ray Ordonez. And a stop by Stinnett. That's 2 runs he's saved.
Well, you're not kidding. That's the tough part of the game. Never shows up in a scorecard, but it does in the manager's mind. But I was starting to think before, when Andy Bennis has walked the 2 leadoff hitters that he's faced, you're going to get in trouble. I mean, you might get out of a couple, but you're not going to keep getting out of them. It's really dangerous continuing to do that.
There's a strike called. 1-1. Houston continues to lead 2-1 in Chicago in the 3rd inning. Andy Bennis looking to his middle infield. The Mets have runners at the corners, Hundley at third and Baerga at first base. Baerga jumps back on the bag with Travis Lee holding over there. Mookie Wilson is the first base coach.
What Andy Bennis and Kelly Stinnett are thinking about doing right here, they want to get a ground ball if they can. So they've got to keep the ball down in the zone. Ray Ordonez handles the ball up in the strike zone well.
Bites that one off. Foul ball.
Kelly Stinnett set up inside. They're going to try to set it up inside, show the ball in, and now I wouldn't be surprised to see them go back with a breaking ball. And it's a situation where Andy Bennis continually talks to Jay Bell at second base as to what he's going to do with the ball if it's hit right back at him. And that's the communication that you want to see. Now, infielders, middle infielders play off the signs. The shortstop will look to see the signs, and he will play according to where the pitch is going. Look like they're going inside again.
They did. That's fouled off Angel Hernandez, the home plate umpire. Ordonez doubled home Jermaine Allensworth in the 7th inning of Game 2 on the 20th against the Cardinals. That tied his career high for RBIs in a season with 33 that he established last year.
Well, what I was saying, John, when a catcher gives the signs, the second baseman and shortstop can look in and see the signs. They will adjust accordingly. Now, this is going to be a slider away.
And downstairs
and down it went. Now, what you see with middle infielders, you just saw Jay Bell put the glove up to his hand and open his mouth. That's showing open mouth to the second baseman, telling what the pitch will be. Because if you're looking for an example that they go back inside, there they're going again. Jay Bell will get a start and go into the hole if he has to.
Up and in again to Ordonez. He keeps fouling pitches off. That's where a middle infielder can cheat a little bit.
Yes.
Take an extra step.
Yep.
And every extra step helps in a situation like this where the Diamondbacks will give up a run to get a double play if they can.
Mm-hmm. And you use the term cheat. That's baseball parlance. And really what you do is anticipating the percentages.
3-2 with runners at the corners and nobody out. Bennis has already walked 3. Bobby Jones is on deck thinking maybe I can even the score with Andy here.
Well, Bobby Jones is a good hitter too. He's a good athlete. He's a dangerous hitter. He bunts well. He's not an easy out.
Nobody out in a 3-2 count. Ball 4. The bases are loaded for Bobby Jones. 4 walks. Jones is coming up with the bases full. We're going back to Wrigley Field, Chicago, and take a look at a Sammy Sosa at bat.
We welcome those of you watching the New York Mets and the Arizona Diamondbacks. They're standing and cheering, anticipating Sammy Sosa round 2 in his showdown with Randy Johnson. Out on Waveland Avenue, all the fans waiting to catch that number 50 home run, and there was a 50 home run cut that came up empty.
That was a big swing by Sammy Sosa, but a much more controlled swing than Sammy Sosa of last year or years past. He still takes a big hack, but his head is staying on the ball, his shoulders staying in there. Nothing wrong with swinging hard as long as you keep your head on the ball.
Johnson misses inside to Sosa. 1 ball and 1 strike. Any way possible imaginable to get number 50. They're hanging out of the apartment buildings out on Waveland Avenue. Whoa, a big swing and a miss. 1 and 2.
Power against power. I've got a good fastball. You're a good fastball hitter. Let's see who wins. Man, generates a lot of power out of that crouch. The hands held down low. The uppercut swing. In the past, you throw Sammy Sosa anything spinning right now and you'd get him out.
1-2. Johnson challenged him and Sosa right on it, fouled it straight back to the screen.
Sosa has become a much better breaking ball hitter this year. If you try to throw a breaking ball for a strike, it's a pitch that he really hammers hard. This is a fastball right down the heart of the plate. And Sammy got the head of the bat on it that time and fouled it straight back.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Johnson looks in for the sign from Ausmus. Gives the nod of the head okay, and here she comes, and he got him swinging. Round 2 goes to
Randy Johnson won that battle with Sammy Sosa, while Andy Bennis took care of his counterpart Bobby Jones with a strikeout. The bases are loaded, 1 out, and the top of the order, Tony Phillips for the Mets. Phillips the first time walked and was left at third base. A .284 hitter. His 23rd game with the Mets. Tony has 1 career slam. But he looks at every pitch, Jeff. And if it's not close, he learned a lot, I'm sure, from Ricky Henderson when the two were together in Oakland.
I think you're absolutely right. He realized by Ricky crouching that the guy who liked the ball up in the strike zone, you get down in this crouch, you make the pitches be up, you cut down the width of and height of your strike zone.
Phillips is saying, I'd rather have the pitch down. 1 and 2 here on Phillips. The Mets do not have a grand slam this season as a ball club.
Yeah, Tony Phillips is so dangerous because you think that he's going to be keeping you going deep in the count, when all of a sudden he'll turn and blast one. He's got some pop in his swing.
So far, Bennis has been able to handle the pressure. He's facing first and third with 1 out in the first inning. Struck out Piazza and got McRae on a tap to the pitcher. With the bases loaded and nobody out, Jones has struck out. And Tony Phillips is behind 1 ball, 2 strikes. .50 pitches so far for Bennis. We're through 1 out in the bottom of the 2nd inning.
A lot of pitches, and Kelly Stinnett, his catcher, feels like he's thrown about 50 in the dirt. When you have that runner not very far away from you down the third base line there, and you know your pitcher throws hard and he throws even a heavy fastball, and you've got to watch out to protect the ball in the dirt, it gets you on your toes.
A drive to right field. Kareem Garcia with the catch. Hundley's going to tag. Todd Hundley scores the first Mets run with Baerga advancing to third. A sacrifice fly for Tony Phillips. Edgardo Alfonso is coming up, and here's what he did last night in Game 2 against the Cardinals. That stood up for the New York Mets. For Alfonso, his 10th home run of the year.
John, we talked about Alfonso. He had .315 for this club last year, drove in 72 runs and got a Golden Glove. This year started the beginning of the year and struggled. The whole early part of the year was on the DL for a while, but as we mentioned, since Tony Phillips has gotten here, he's been getting more fastballs and hitting a lot better.
Another nice stop by Stinnett. Stinnett has saved at least 3 runs. There's Baerga at third base now. Ray Ordonez is on first base, 2 outs and a run in. A 4-1 game for the Diamondbacks. but well over 50 pitches now. Bennis is going to have to settle in, or he won't be around for the required 5 with the lead for a win today.
Well, not if he continues to walk as many as he has, or pitching from behind an account. We were talking about Bobby Jones not being with the same control that we normally see with him. He's been wild in the strike zone. Andy has not. Andy Bennis has been all over the place.
There he gets a strike in there.
You know, there's a difference. Wild in the strike zone means you're not throwing the pitches where you want it, probably sometimes too hittable. Then there's the other wild where you're out of the strike zone and you're not giving your defense a chance to help you, and that's when you're walking people.
On a half swing. A roller to third to Williams. Safe, and a run scores. Williams playing deep. Made a great effort to try to get the last out. But Alfonso drives in his 61st run. 4-2 Diamondbacks.
Well, on this particular play, you got to make a decision. Is this thing maybe going to go foul? And obviously Matt Williams didn't think it was going to, so he had to try to make this play. And he made a heck of an effort, but Alfonso can run. Boy, sometimes when you're the opposition facing an offensive team, you'd rather see him hit the ball right on the button instead of something like that where you can't defend very well.
A run batted in by Arga, and Hundley have scored the runs this inning for the Mets. Ray Ordonez is on second. On the mound now, Mark Connor, the pitching coach for the Arizona Diamondbacks, along with Stinnett and Bennis. The batter is John Olerud. Olerud, the home run department, has 17. He has driven in 76 runs. Now, Olerud is the leading hitter in the National League. Bernie Williams of the Yankees is leading the American League. And if they both win the titles, it will be the 5th time that players from the same city have done it in the same years. The others, Dick Sisler of the St. Louis Browns and Rogers Hornsby of the Cardinals, did it twice in 1920, 1922. And this gets away from Stinnett and goes into the stands. Runners at second and third. Ordonez has to come back to third base. Alfonso to second on the wild pitch.
Well, John, we've talked that Kelly Stinnett has done such a wonderful job so far in this game, keeping the ball in front of him. This ball skids and hits off his shin guard. And it kind of went off the side of the right shin guard and then went by him. And what you have to do is constantly force yourself to get down on the ball and anticipate it being in the dirt. But after a while, you start to get a little tired and your concentration's off a little.
But runners at second and third, Bennis will go from the windup. Olerud lays off the splitter. 2 balls and no strikes. Mentioned that Dick Sisler and Rogers Hornsby, Sisler of the Browns and Hornsby of the Cardinals, won batting titles in the same year twice. 1923, Chuck Klein with the Phillies, Jimmy Fox with the A's. Olerud rips that foul down the right field line. And here are the Kings of New York, leading their leagues 347 and 345 respectively. Both in the 70s in runs batted in, and Olerud's only 3 home runs behind Bernie Williams. But Bernie was out, what, 6 weeks with injury?
32 games, I believe, yeah.
Of course, in 1942, Ted Williams hit .356 for the Red Sox. And Ernie Lombardi, .330 for the Boston Braves. But not too many people talk about Olerud. The talk is about the Yankees, all the games they've won. Bernie Williams, David Wells threw a perfecto over there this season. And the talk over here with the Mets is that they're in the wild card race.
And you're starting to see, you mentioned earlier, more fans come out to Shea Stadium, which is great to see. New York fans are great fans, and they would love to see a Subway Series.
Olerud hits it deep to right field. Down the line. A foul ball.
Wow, you talk about your heart beating for Kelly Stinnett. How about Andy Bennis's heart beating? And Buck Showalter trying to look calm sitting in that dugout there, but I guarantee you his stomach is flip-flopping. John Olerud's such a good hitter. Watch this. Watch his reaction on this ball. He knows it's going to be hooking. He's just hoping it stays in. So look at, he's giving a little body English. He's leaning in and no dice. Tough to keep the ball that's inside, and you're a left-handed hitter inside that right field foul pole when you have to get your bat out in front of it.
Check swing. Did he check in time? He did. 3-2. At third base, Ray Ordonez. At second base, Edgardo Alfonso. Olerud with a 3-2 count, and Mike Piazza is on deck. Olerud is the 7th man to bat in the 2nd inning against Bennis. The bases are loaded for Mike Piazza. That's 5 bases on balls for Bennis. There is action in the bullpen for Arizona. Alan Embry and Chris Mahalik are the lefties in the bullpen. I believe it's Mahalik warming now. Mike Piazza up with the bases loaded. He has 3 grand slams this season, but as we told you, the Mets do not have a grand slam. Those were before he joined the Mets. Mike Piazza is playing in his 78th game in New York.
Well, Mike Piazza is the kind of guy so strong. He's got a spread stance. He gets lift in his swing. You make a mistake out over the plate with the hard stuff and he'll kill you. Now, he struck out his first at bat after going after a bad off-speed pitch, either a split finger or a down or breaking ball. But when he's even with you or up in the count and he can tee off, this guy can hit a ball as far as it's hit. I think he can hit a ball as far as McGuire.
Foul back. He'd like to have that pitch back.
Yeah, I think he would. You know, when you take a look at Piazza and Olerud hit, and you can see what he does with the bases loaded. He's one of these guys, you know, a lot of times in baseball you call a hitter a triple hitter. Really means they hit mistakes. But it also means they take advantage of situations, and Mike takes advantage of situations where they pitch to him.
Fouling another one out of play. 1 and 2 on Piazza with the bases full.
When you take a look at both Piazza and Olerud, they hit from spread stances, and they don't commit early. They use their hands to hit. Now, Piazza muscles the ball occasionally when he kind of gets lift in his swing. That last fastball, he was a little bit behind. But he can hit the ball out to right field and right center as easily as to left.
2 and 2 on Mike Piazza. You're absolutely right, though, about a good crippled hitter. I've been watching Albert Bell's second half of the season. Anything left out over the plate, a breaking ball, any off-speed pitch, fastball up, he has hit it hard. Piazza does that. McGuire does that. All the good power hitters. They find a pitcher's mistake and then put punctuation to it. Now this gets interesting. 3 and 2 with 2 outs and the bases full. Who gives in?
Andy Bennis has got to come to Mike Piazza in this situation. Mike Piazza's got to be standing up there. He's looking for a fastball. If Bennis were to get an off-speed pitch over, he would probably get Piazza. But Mike has got to say, I am in a hitter's count right now where he's got to come to me.
But the runner's going. A high, long drive to left field. Slam for Piazza. I don't hear any boos.
I don't either. Everybody in this ballpark on their feet dancing now. They like that one. Mike Piazza is so dangerous with that bat in his hand, especially when it counts in his favor. Here's the swing. Watch where the pitch is. That's right in the middle of the plate, and Mike doesn't miss it. He knows it when he hits it.
And in the dugout, they follow with suspense and celebrate. Mike Piazza with his 4th grand slam this season, the 9th of his career.
You know what, John? I don't think the dugout thought that ball was going out. They didn't get up until it went all the way out of here. I think they were watching Gilkey go back on the ball, and they didn't think it was out.
Bennis has lost a 4-0 lead, and now the Diamondbacks trail 6-4. And 2-1 on Brian McRae, the 9th man to bat in the Mets second. 3-1. Mentioned that Piazza has 4 grand slams. He's the grand slam king for the majors right now. A strike to McRae, 3-2, and many deep counts.
John, there's an electricity around this ballpark. It's not just because it's a giveaway day.
Oh, see that pickup by Lee at first base? McRae is out 3 unassisted. But Mike Piazza has put the Mets on top by 2. And we'll return to Shea Stadium after this word from your local Fox station. It was 4-0 after the top of the second inning. 6 runs on only 3 hits for the Mets in the bottom half, as Bennis has been struggling with his control. 1-1 here on Lee. .269 average, 20 home runs in his rookie season, 55 runs batted in. He pops it up. Over by the dugout. Nice sliding catch, and Piazza goes all the way to the bottom step. This is Piazza's day, Jeff Torborg.
Well, that was an all-out effort. That was a nice play. When you get near a dugout like that, you got your eye on the ball. You're not sure where the dugout is. The thing that saved him there was he slid. Of course, after he hit the ground in the dugout, it was on his elbow. But this is a nice play. He's catching it as he's sliding. Goes down all those steps, and he crashes into the bottom of the dugout. This is where you get hurt.
They also have a platform there for the water coolers that he went sliding over. What a great catch. Lee is out. Here's Matt Williams with 1 out in the 3rd inning. Williams was a shortstop at UNLV before turning pro. And he's one of the best, if not the best, fielders at third base in the game right now.
I was just thinking about Piazza going into the Diamondback dugout. You notice nobody got in there to help him. If that had been their own catcher, they would have been up trying to keep him up above. But boy, he could have killed somebody if they tried to help him there.
That's going out of play on the right side. 0-2 on Williams. And there's the dugout. There's the platform I'm talking about.
Yes.
With the water cooler up there, the Piazza went sliding over and then hit the bottom step.
Well, he's going to feel that tomorrow on his left side. He landed on his left elbow and shoulder going in there. And he's a big man. Went in there with a lot of force.
The slide mark on the track is about 6 feet long. Williams checked in time on the breaking ball away. 1 ball, 2 strikes. After Williams, David DeLucci will bat for Arizona. The Diamondbacks down by 2. What an impressive comeback, capped off by Piazza's grand slam in the second. But walks hurt Bennis. That's a smash back to the middle. Matt Williams is 2 for 2, and right now let's return to Chip Carey for a Coors Light game break.
All right, John and Jeff, thank you very much. You know, everybody talks about Big Mac and Sammy Sosa for National League MVP. How about this man, Moises Alou? What a pickup by the Astros. He just hit his 37th homer of the year, and Houston leads the Cubs 3-1. Sammy Sosa 0 for 2 in the Astros, celebrating against John Wenger.
There's a professional, Moises Alou. Just goes about his business, and where would they have been, the Florida Marlins, last year without his home run in Cleveland off Hershiser?
Well, he comes from a very professional background. Of course, his father, Felipe Alou, is one of the finest players I've played against. Besides being a great gentleman, now an outstanding manager with the Expos, but his uncles were pretty good too.
Yes, they were.
Matty Alou and Jesus Alou, all major leaguers and very good players.
David DeLucci with a half swing. Ordonez to Baerga. Olerud can't catch that one, but it doesn't go into the dugout. So there's a break. Going in hard at second base, Matt Williams was out 6-4, shortstop to second on the force out. But with the ball hitting the front of the camera area, hitting the wall over there, not going into the dugout, DeLucci is on first base instead of second. Jay Bell comes up.
Now, you talked about the little things of this game. Matt Williams going hard into second base, not dirty, but going hard, trying to break the play up, caused that throw to be an errant throw.
And nearly got an extra base for David DeLucci.
Yeah, I looked at Jay Bell, and here's a guy who got a lot of money and raised a lot of eyebrows in baseball with the kind of money that he signed with the Diamondbacks, but they wanted quality player. And you wonder sometimes, even with a veteran, if they don't try to do too much, try to play up to the money, because he struggled all year offensively.
That might be one of the big problems with the salary structure in baseball, Jeff, where a player is good enough to have a Cy Young type season, or he's good enough to win the Rolaids Relief Award like Mark Davis was.
Yes.
And I think he's the prime example, going from San Diego after all those saves and a Cy Young year, going to Kansas City, and really wasn't the same after that.
Well, I saw it with a lot of stars. I remember when Don Baylor and Bobby Grich signed big free agent contracts with the Angels. It took them a year to get adjusted.
But realistically, how can you elevate your game when you're already on top?
You can't, but it's a pride factor. You just try to do too much. You can only do what your abilities allow you to do. Some years guys have years that are aberrations. They're really not that good. It's one of those special years. But Jay Bell's had a lot of good years. And
Don Baylor had a lot of good years.
Yes, absolutely.
Mark Davis had several good years leading up to his big year. That's in there, a strike. 1-2 here on Jay Bell, batting with 2 outs in the 3rd inning. But at some point, human nature takes over.
Yeah, you're so proud. A lot of people talk about ball players making so much money and they don't care, they don't play hard. Well, it's just a microcosm of our society. Some players really play with great emphasis and great pride, and it's true in a lot of walks of life. And those guys sometimes try to do too much. It just is, as a manager, you had to watch that. Occasionally you'd make a trade for a player and you have to say, hey, listen, I don't want you to try to do too much. And Mike Piazza might be a classic guy, looking at him there behind the plate, trying to do too much to justify what people are talking about, what he wants in a contract.
And it's not that Piazza hasn't traveled much this season. Dodgers, Marlins, Mets. A long one to left field. And that's off the wall for Jay Bell. DeLucci will pull up at third. A double for Bell with 2 outs. That's the 2nd hit in the inning. Bell is 2 for 2. Matt Williams is 2 for 2.
Well, we were talking before about Bobby Jones, about comparing him to Andy Bennis. Andy Bennis has been wild. Bobby Jones has been a little wild in the strike zone. There's a ball again right in the middle of the plate. Bobby cannot get his pitches where he wants them.
Right fielder,
his breaking balls are up. His off-speed pitches are up. He's normally pinpoint. He's normally an artist on the mound. He's really struggling today.
Jay Bell just delivered his 300th career double, moving David DeLucci to third base. Now the tying run is on second base with 2 outs. Karim Garcia hitting 7th in the lineup, grounded out to first in the 2nd inning. Are we seeing the doubleheaders catching up with the Mets and some of the Arizona travel catching up with the Diamondbacks in this one today?
Well, you might. The pitching sets the tone. If your pitchers are off, then a game can look kind of crazy. A lot of times you just have to tip your cap to the hitters, though, at this time of year.
A high fly right field. Tony Phillips over by the line. 2 runners are stranded. 3 have been left out by the Diamondbacks, and we're going to the bottom of the 3rd in New York with the Mets up by 2 runs.
Babe Ruth is up.
6-4 in the 3rd, and let's get you to the sounds of the game of Bob Apodaca in the Mets dugout.
Give me a high five. Better rhythm, better tempo. Your balance on a lot of your fastballs are standing straight up. That's telling me we're real quick. Okay? Especially from the stretch. Especially from the stretch. Make sure we get good back here. That's the only move. Get a good setup. You can't worry about anything else, but make sure you get the good setup. We get the ball down and away to him, we're going to be fine. That's the key. That's the key. We've got to get the ball down and away.
Todd Hundley leads off the 3rd inning. This guy's one to right center. 1 out. And it is going to be something trying to nurse the starters through 5 innings today, I think.
I think you're right. But what Bobby was really saying, Bob Apodaca to Bobby Jones, was slow yourself down, get over the rubber, and drive the ball down and away to Mike Piazza. Pitch to him low and away on the right-handed hitters and the left-handed hitters. What happens, we were talking about it earlier. We watched Andy Bennis rush. Bobby Jones started to rush. He's got a beautiful delivery and normally has excellent tempo. His pitching coach noticed he was going too fast.
Baerga takes a curveball strike.
And he made it very emphatic. You've got to pitch down. We talked about all the pitches Bobby Jones is leaving up in the middle of the plate. He's got to get the ball down away from most of the hitters and then work from there.
Baerga was late on the fastball, so he saw a breaking pitch and then he saw the fastball for strike 2. On April 8, 1993, while playing with the Indians facing the Yankees, Baerga became the only player in Major League history to hit a home run from both sides of the plate in the same inning. His first one, right-handed, came in the 7th inning off Steve Howe. And keeping things even, his second was left-handed off Steve Barr. Even Steven.
Oh, this guy had a couple great years with the Indians.
Baerga foul off to the left. No room for Matt Williams.
You know, John, how we were talking about types of stances. And we were talking about how the stance of the 90s seems to be the wide open stance. That's what Baerga uses from both sides of the plate. And when you have a guy with a wide open stance, and we're not talking about the spread in the legs, we're talking about where the right foot is for a left-handed hitter open toward first base. We see so many of these guys dive over the plate. The point you made earlier was pitchers don't pitch in as much. Maybe you can do more of this.
But Andy Bennis pitched in that time and struck him out.
Well, what we were saying was with Carlos with the open stance, see how this foot is over here. That's all open to that side. You got to close up. Well, now the pitch is inside and it's breaking down and he can't get to it. He swings right over the top of it because he had to close up.
But Baerga strikes out on the split finger pitch, 2 outs.
The open stance really does have real benefits, and one is that you look at the pitcher with both eyes.
Ray Ordonez fights it off foul. He walked and scored one of the 6 runs in the Mets half of the second.
The closed stance, where the hitter has his front foot closer to the plate, you're kind of looking around a corner. You're only looking really with one eye at the pitcher.
Ordonez lets the breaking ball go by. 1 ball, 1 strike. Bennis smiling a little bit, perhaps at the prospect of having a 3 up 3 down inning. He has not had one. He walked 2 in the first inning, but walked away with no run scoring. Then he walked 3 in the second. They scored. High down the left field line. Bernard Gilkey. And McCorder couldn't make the catch. Foul ball. He came close to making the play.
Well, this is a heck of an effort. He got to the wall just about the time the ball got there, and obviously he's very aware of how this left field plays here, having played here for a number of years. Look at this. He knows you've got to get your arm up so you don't crash into that wall. As he made the jump, he kind of overran the ball. The ball was a little bit back over his head. And of course, it's a bright sunny day here. You can see the sun glinting off, and there's Todd Hundley saying, boy, that left field is tough. I can relate to that.
Strike called. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Bennis. He has 4 in the game and does work a 3 up 3 down third. On to the 4th in New York. The Mets lead 6-4.
This is the Midas Gold Muffler. It comes with a Midas lifetime warranty, and it's now just $49.95, $69.95 for select imports. Let's review.
6-4 in favor of the New York Mets, even though the Diamondbacks about hit them today. 7-3. 8-9-1 in the order. Coming up for the Diamondbacks against right-handed Bobby Jones. The first up is former Met catcher Kelly Stinnett. When the season started, Stinnett was on the roster along with George Fabregas, but Fabregas is now in a Met uniform, part of the Bernard Gilkey trade. Will there be a play down the right field line? No. That's going back into the crowd. Stinnett has hit .242, 8 home runs and 27 runs batted in, and he has been pancaking some worms behind the plate today.
Buck Showalter told me before the game that he was very pleased the way Stinnett does the job catching. Damian Miller, the other catcher, he said are very good catchers. He likes what they do behind the plate.
There's Alfonso going to one knee. Throws him out, one out.
You know, it's interesting watching Alfonso play. The left side of this infield, as we mentioned, has been just outstanding. Yesterday, he didn't play in the first game, and they didn't get play like this. They lost the game. Look at that backhander, and he's under control. See how he gets his feet under him and then throws a bullet across the infield. He had a tender arm earlier in the year. It hurt his shoulder. He had to lay out for a while, but both Ordonez and Alfonso didn't play the first game of the doubleheader yesterday, and they botched up a couple infield plays, and they just didn't look the same. They lost the game 10-5. This club relies on its defense.
Andy Bennis last time up doubled in 2 runs and scored another as Arizona had a 4-0 lead after an inning and a half. 0-2 on Bennis, but Bennis let the lead get away by allowing only 3 hits, walked 3 in the second inning. Piazza hit a grand slam. Two outs. Tomorrow, join Pat Summerall, John Madden, and Matt Millen in the San Francisco, a Fox NFL special. Dan Marino and the Dolphins take on Steve Young and the 49ers. Coverage begins 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, with Terry, Howie, JB, and new addition Chris Collinsworth right here on Fox. Right here in New York at Shea Stadium, it's 6-4 Mets with Jeff Torborg. I'm John Rooney. Top of the order now in Andy Fox. Fox has hit a fly ball to center field and singled in a couple of runs. He also has a stolen base. He is a tall infielder and can play so many positions. Kind of reminds me of Ron Hansen. He used to play for the Chicago White Sox. He's over 6 feet, what, about 6'4" or so?
Yes.
Played shortstop, but moved around very well.
You know, I was just thinking about what Bob Apodaca was saying to Bobby Jones. He is trying to hit the low outside corner. That's where he struck out Andy Bennis looking. Last 2 pitches to Andy Fox were there. Now he got that one up, but he gets him to pop it up.
Ordonez is calling off Todd Hundley. The shortstop makes the play. That's 4 in a row retired by Bobby Jones. We're going to the bottom of the 4th with the Mets leading 6-4. Welcome back. We're in New York today, and we are sailing along here at Shea Stadium. Sailing along to the bottom of the 4th inning. Wait, weather's just great. That's where you're headed after the game, isn't it? Out on the boat?
Down the Jersey Shore. Yep.
Living the good life, aren't you?
Somebody's got to do it.
Here's strike 1. Pitcher facing pitcher. Bobby Jones leading off. Bobby Jones, Tony Phillips, and Edgardo Alfonso in the 4th inning with the Mets ahead by 2. Lazy pop right center field. Long run in for DeLucci. Got a good break on it, though. 5 in a row have been retired by Bennis. And if you're wondering, it's 4-1. Houston leading the Cubs in the bottom of the 5th inning at Wrigley Field today. The Mets and the Cubs started the day dead even in the wild card race in the National League. Here's Tony Phillips, 16th season. He gets on base with walks. He's not a real big base stealer, but a very smart base runner. And he's not afraid to get in somebody's face in the clubhouse.
Oh, you're not kidding. You know, that Phillips factor is a double-edged sword here. Steve Phillips, the general manager, has done a terrific job here in giving Bobby Valentine the players that he'd wanted and needed in this lineup. Just think of some of the moves they made. Tony Phillips, of course. They went out and got Al Leiter in the offseason.
Picked up Piazza.
Got Mike Piazza.
Made the deal to get Willie Blair, George Fabregas. That's going out of play. Souvenir down the left field line. 1-2 on Tony Phillips with 1 out.
So you have 2 Phillips involved in the factor, but Tony Phillips down on the field. You know, even last year, John, when he had an off year with both the White Sox and the Angels, he only hit 275, but he still had 102 walks last year and 13 stolen bases. He just makes things happen around him, and as you mentioned, in the clubhouse, he can stir things up.
Tony Phillips strikes out. 2 outs, and that's 5 strikeouts for Andy Bennis. Well, you look at the last 2 innings compared to the first 2 innings, Bennis isn't the same pitcher. He has 3 strikeouts in the last 2 innings. You go to the first couple of innings, he walked 5.
Mark Connors is a pitching coach over to Buck Showalter's right in this shot here. He is excellent on mechanics, and I'm sure when he went out to the mound that's what he was talking about. Slow yourself down. The identical thing that Bob Apodaca was saying to Bobby Jones. All pitchers have got to do this.
Norman Barrier in the booth was just wondering. The record for the Mets when Piazza was acquired, 24-20. Since then, 47-37. And the Mets are 15-7 since Tony Phillips came on board.
John, you know as well as I do, one bat in the middle of a lineup can make a major difference, and that's what Mike Piazza puts, that big powerful bat in the middle of the lineup. Now you get Phillips, and you're able, as we mentioned earlier, to adjust the rest of the lineup. Now Todd Hundley comes back. Hopefully he can start driving the ball for them.
That's going back and out of play upstairs.
But we were talking about, there's Tony Phillips, of course. We were talking about Steve Phillips, the young general manager of the Mets. He also went out and got Jermaine Allensworth from Kansas City. Now here's a guy that can run, can defend, good young player. The Mets have gone out and gotten the people they've needed.
A good eye by Alfonso. 2-2. Nobody on base. 6 in a row have been set down by Andy Benes. Trying to make it 3 up, 3 down for the second straight inning. And a drive left center field. DeLucci, he makes the catch in front of the track. 7 straight have been retired by Andy Benes. Gilkey, Lee, and Williams will be batting as we go to the 5th inning in New York. Here's Bernard Gilkey. Bobby Jones is trying to get through this inning with the lead to be eligible for his 9th victory. Ball and a strike on Gilkey. He has a single and a ground out today. Jones, going back his last 9 starts, 2 wins, 2 losses, and 5 no decisions. Boy, Gilkey was all geared up and then got a breaking ball with a little something off of it.
Well, we talked about Bobby Jones also last year. He was off to a terrific start when his back kicked up on him, and they had a difficult time the second half of the season. But when he gets in a groove, you know, you talk about Tom Glavine, the left-hander painting, or Greg Maddux, you know, those guys are the first people that come to mind as pitchers who you talk about artists. When Bobby Jones is on, he really can pitch.
Time called here by Gilkey. Pitchers work generally from one side of the rubber or another. Jeff, you don't see too many working from dead center of the rubber anymore, do you?
No, not often. They try to get angles on the plate. Now Bobby Jones is, strangely enough, way over on the first base side. Now most guys that pitch on, the right-handers that pitch on the first base side of the rubber, are guys who are sinker ballers and want to make everything sink back on the plate.
That's whacked down the left field line. Foul ball. 3-2 the count on Gilkey with Lee coming up.
Now pitchers, I often wondered, why doesn't a pitcher adjust during the game on the rubber according to where he wants to throw the ball on the plate? Because hitters don't notice where the pitcher is on the rubber. And the great Whitey Ford.
You don't think the good pitcher or good hitters would notice that?
No, I don't think so. Most of the time, a lot of guys, you see Bobby Jones, he's way over toward the first base side. He's trying to get an angle back on the plate.
Foul out of play down the right field line this time.
Whitey Ford, the great Yankee pitcher, used to cover it up a little bit so you couldn't see the rubber, and they said that occasionally he and Warren Spahn would step in front of the rubber, you know, to get a better shot at home. But Whitey Ford moved around a little bit on the rubber. But I've often wondered why a pitcher, to get a better angle, doesn't move over to the third base side for a breaking ball and so on.
Wouldn't that foul the catcher up every now and then?
You know what it fouls up? Fouls up your release point. So you say, okay, get to a spot where you feel comfortable and then throw from there. If you feel you have better command from one side or the other, do that. But normally, when you start out, you put a right-handed pitcher over on the third base side so that he gets a better angle on the plate.
Luke to right field. And Tony Phillips is going to have to play it on a bounce. There's a leadoff hit for Bernard Gilkey. He's 2 out of 3. And the leadoff man is on base for the second time today for the Diamondbacks.
First baseman Travis Lee.
Travis Lee is coming up. Is he going to be the Rookie of the Year in the National League? Travis Lee, along with Kerry Wood of the Cubs, Todd Helton of the Rockies, are the top candidates for the National League Rookie of the Year award. If Lee makes it, he'll be only the second Rookie of the Year in either league from an expansion team. The other is still around and very visible as a manager. Lou Piniella won the Rookie of the Year for the Royals in 1969. Another unique thing about Piniella winning the award, he was with his 4th team, having played briefly with Baltimore and Cleveland, being with the Seattle Pilots before being traded to Kansas City, where Lee was signed with these Diamondbacks for the big bucks and is playing for Buck in Phoenix right now.
He is a real good-looking young hitter. He sets up at the plate a little like Ken Griffey Jr. This is the way he gets his hands set up and around behind his head. He kind of rocks his bat a little like Ken Griffey does to keep his front side in.
Foul ball.
But you know, this has got to be a difficult situation for this young kid. Comes in with all that kind of money. He moves through the organization so quickly. Now look at this. Look where their hands start right up in here. Both of them start up high and they go farther back when they go to hit. And then Griffey will come through into this position, and here comes the same thing with Travis Lee. I'm not saying that they're the same type of hitters, but they look very similar the way they approach the pitcher.
And he's out on strikes. Lee is out on strikes for the 2nd time today. The 3rd strikeout for Bobby Jones.
That's interesting. You see Griffey swing through. Now watch as Travis Lee comes from here down. Look at that swing. Now obviously we're talking about what a good swing he has, and he strikes out. The timing wasn't so good today, but this guy's got well, yes, but he's got a chance to be an outstanding player before his career is over. And as you say, but possibly, quite possibly, the Rookie of the Year this year.
Matt Williams is up, 1 on, 1 out. Williams today 2 base hits and a time call. Williams was a National League home run champion in 1994 with 43 as a Giant. He was the RBI leader with 122 in 1990. Was in the Earthquake Series in 1989. Also in the World Series last year with the Indians. And that goes out of play. He was a comeback player of the year 1993 and has had to fight back from injuries. But when he's in the game, he is a threat.
Oh boy, is he. When I first went over the National League to manage the Mets, I was watching him hit, and I thought he was trying to steal the signs. You know how he puts he almost licks his front shoulder to keep his chin. Now see how he kind of looks like he licks his front shoulder. I thought he was trying to look for the signs. So I looked at films of him, and he never looks down. That's just his kind of a way he sets up. You know, there have been some hitters in this game that as a catcher I would see them looking down trying to steal the signs or looking at location. So you would just say to him, in particular, I remember saying to one particular hitter, in fact it was Julian Javier with the Cardinals, I said, Mr. Drysdale doesn't like the fact you're trying to steal our signs. Man, he turned green. I'll tell you, he said, would you go out and tell him I'm not doing that?
But that's how a lot of guys get hurt.
Yes.
Well, they look down for location and think the pitcher's going to be away, and all of a sudden the catcher sets up inside. Guy goes out to get the pitch on the outside corner and gets it in the face.
You're not kidding. But watching Matty the first time, I said, what is he doing? What is he doing with his, you know, licking his the front shoulder of his uniform?
On the ground is short. Ordonez to Baerga. To Olerud. That's it in the top of the 5th for the Diamondbacks. And Olerud is going to be leading off for the Mets as we're halfway through the game. New York leads Arizona 6-4. Venice. John Olerud will be the first up, and he has been on the force play and a base on balls. Mike Piazza has a grand slam, and Brian McRae 0 for 2. Those are the 3 hitters coming up. Andy Bennis is closing in on 100 pitches. Houston has a 7-1 lead at Chicago in the 6th inning. Let's go to Wrigley Field and check out Sammy Sosa.
Again, we welcome those of you watching the New York Mets and the Arizona Diamondbacks. All Houston and Randy Johnson here today at Wrigley Field. Cubs and the New York Mets tied atop the National League wild card race. 7-1 Houston. Sosa leads off in the bottom of the 6th. And it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Sosa popped up to the second baseman his first time up. Struck out in the 3rd, much to the dismay of hundreds out on Waveland Avenue, hoping, waiting, praying for number 50 off the bat of Sosa. Johnson challenged him early in the game, Bobby. Nothing but fastballs, and now the off-speed pitches fooling Sosa in his 3rd at bat.
Constant adjustments. That's all the game of baseball is about. Sammy Sosa got blown away back in the 3rd inning with a series of mid-90s fastballs from Randy Johnson, all fastballs. this at bat, he's seeing that slow breaking ball.
1-2 to Sosa. 49 home runs. Johnson comes back with a heat, and Sammy fouls it out of play. Randy Johnson making his 5th start with the Astros. He's 3-1, a minuscule 1.50 ERA. And you see Sosa, 20 of the 49 bombs on the year have come when he has 2 strikes in a count. And that is one area where he has so much improved over the last few seasons.
I think that's because he's improved his ability to hit the breaking ball. With 2 strikes in the past, I mentioned earlier, if you threw Sammy Sosa anything spinning, you had a pretty good chance to strike him out. That's not the case this year. If you throw a breaking ball for a strike in a 2-strike count, he's going to hit it and hit it hard.
2-2 to Sosa, 2 behind Mark McGwire in the chase for the single-season home run record of Roger Maris. On the ground, a high bouncer at Gutierrez, and Johnson for the 3rd time makes it look easy against Sosa.
And we will check in if Sammy gets up again today at Wrigley Field as we follow the home run race on Fox Sports. Here's a home run hitter, and he has one today. The first grand slam hit this season by a Mets player. The 4th grand slam in 1998 for Mike Piazza. That capped off a 6-run 2nd inning. Piazza is batting with Olerud on first base. A base hit to left field. Two on with nobody out.
Center fielder Brian McRae.
Brian McRae is the hitter. He's 0 for 2.
Andy Benes has really gotten himself in trouble. Felix Rodriguez up in the bullpen. Andy Benes has gotten himself in trouble whenever he's walked a leadoff hitter. Obviously, those are the stats that always seem to jump out at you. But he got ahead of Mike Piazza after walking Olerud. Got ahead of him with breaking balls and then came in with a pitch, and Piazza hit a bullet to left field.
Brian McRae hits it solidly to right field, and it's going to the wall. Here comes Olerud. Piazza gets the stop sign from Cookie Rojas at 3rd. An RBI double for McRae as he drives in his 61st run.
Now, John, you mentioned with Buck Showalter heading to the mound, and he's on the run. He's already called for a pitch.
4, and he is responsible for Piazza at 3rd base and McRae on 2nd. The new pitcher is Felix Rodriguez. Rodriguez gets the ball to the plate in a hurry, and here's the line on Andy Benes. Incomplete for the moment. 108 pitches, 7 runs earned, only 6 hits allowed, but he walked 6 and struck out 5, and is still responsible for Piazza and McRae on base now. 7-4 Mets. How has Felix Rodriguez been doing in 1998? We'll take a look at his numbers. A 5.30 ERA, getting some work out of the bullpen, appearing in his 35th game with 5 saves. 33 hits allowed in 35 2/3 innings. He'd like to cut his walks down. 2-0 the count here on Todd Hundley. 2-1. Hundley has a walk, a run scored, and a fly ball for an out to right field.
Felix Rodriguez is has an interesting background. He started as a catcher in the Dodger organization. You see this happening a lot. A young catcher maybe doesn't hit enough, has a good arm, and they convert him into a pitcher. Troy Percival with the Angels like that.
Hundley was late. Just nicked that one. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Well, this guy throws from a low arm angle and tends to work under the ball a little bit, and that's why he's got so many walks. He was a guy that Buck Showalter was trying to make a closer early in the year. And for a while it worked, but then he really struggled with it. And remember, he's a very young pitcher, hasn't been pitching that long. Comes from a low arm angle and tends to work under the ball. You'll watch from the side.
Blocked by Stinnett. 3-2 on Hundley with 2 men on. Rodriguez was acquired from the Cincinnati Reds for a player to be named later, November the 11th, 1997, and that player was Scott Winchester.
Now Kelly Stinnett continues to block balls in the dirt that could easily go through with runners in scoring position, and one at 3rd base staring him right down at him.
Hundley is out on strikes. Now let's return to Chip Carey for a Coors Light game break.
All right, guys, John and Jeff, it's all Houston today. Bill Spires against Terry Adams. He hits a long rocket, a 3-run homer to make it 7-1 in favor of Houston. Cubs middle relief has been a problem for them all year, and Adams really struggling of late. Randy Johnson has struck out 8. And Sammy Sosa 0 for 3. Back to you.